So we're going to move on to long-form questions. I believe the way that this is going to work is that members of the organization are going to ask the questions, and everyone will have 2 minutes to give an answer. And if it becomes a point that you all are shooting at each other, I'll offer you the opportunity to rebut. So here, we're going to start now, Ben.
Hi, my name is Benjamin Kills. I'm the NYDLC's HAVA Committee Chair. And my question is, what is your plan to clean up Albany? What statutes and tools are currently available to help you do so? And what new laws or tools would you propose to help do it in the future?
2 minutes, okay. What, you're raising your hand? I'm gonna.
I don't know
Use 2 minutes. And again, please look to the timekeeper. We'll start with Eric Dinallo, please.
I put out a public integrity agenda laying out what my plan for pursuing public integrity in Albany and transforming some of the points of the Tweed Act. I've also said that the Charities Bureau is a huge opportunity for stopping some of the inappropriate pass-throughs that some of the public officials engage in. I've talked about using the Martin Act, which I innovated at the Attorney General's office, the Donnelly Act. There's a range of laws that I think would do a seriously good job in the right hands, creatively applied by someone who's done conflicts of interest cases on Wall Street and conflicts of interest cases at the insurance department and at the AG's office to stop the kind of activity that you see. It is true there's no criminal jurisdiction originally, but I think that there is very strong powers that could put an end to a lot of the worst kind of conduct that you see on Wall Street. If I could pick one thing, I believe it is within the current governor's authority to, under 6310, I think it is, to just appoint, like in Medicaid fraud prosecution, to appoint the AG the powers to do criminal investigations, and I think that would help. But I do not think you're going to get some new laws from Albany's legislature. There's no chance of that in my mind, and I think that therefore you need an Attorney General who has a proven track record of doing complex investigations and creatively using existing laws to come up with solutions where otherwise people thought you couldn't reach the problem, as I've done at the Attorney General's office, and I think the powers are there, and I put it out in my public integrity agenda.
Senator?
I think there are two aspects to cleaning up Albany, and I appreciate, I appreciate the interest in engaging in the reform movement. One aspect is your technical knowledge and your skill. The other aspect is your willingness to actually take on people who are in positions of power and can punish you and hurt you. And Attorney General, the next Attorney General has to be someone you have confidence is willing to take on that challenge. On the technical level, I agree with Eric, and there's sort of a dispute, an ongoing dispute in our 87 debates, where I think Sean and our absent colleague have taken the position that we really do need new laws for the Attorney General to pursue public corruption, and Eric and I think Richard have taken more of the view that we actually do have a lot of resources available to us. I think it's really a combination. It's a combination. I will never again speak for Richard.
Not as long as I have subpoena.
Listen, the public integrity function of the Attorney General's office is tremendous. I would specifically seek to restore the jurisdiction the Attorney General used to have over election law and campaign finance cases. Attorney General Louis Lefkowitz gave it up, saying we built this great thing called the Board of Elections. They're going to take care of all this. We don't need to worry about it. In my view, that didn't work out very well, and all of the lawyers here who have dealt with them, I think, will agree with me. But I do think that under the Charities Bureau, under the authority that we have to investigate business fraud and securities fraud, there's a lot that can be done. And I do think that the fundamental problems that we're seeing in Albany, in virtually every case, have to do with abuse of a not-for-profit or some kind of business fraud. There's some sort of payoff involved, whether it's price fixing or, in Joe Bruno's case, running a consulting firm for profit out of the New York State Capitol for people doing business with the state. Not tremendously subtle. I think you need an Attorney General also who is willing to demonstrate, and I'll talk about this more later, that they'll take on the hard cases even when it's politically not just unpopular, but dangerous.
Hold on. Sean, you went first last time.
Okay. You know, I think it's important to understand that reform of Albany is a means, not an end. This state is hurting. We don't have a budget. It's been almost 4 months. Folks are hurting. The economy is terrible, and Albany is burning while politicians fiddle. So we need to reform Albany in order to get government working, get the machinery working, and the next Attorney General has got to be a key part of that. I'm not satisfied with the status quo on laws. Yes, there are laws on the books, and if we're not going to get anything passed, you need an independent voice, someone who's unencumbered with an experience in Albany that, in the legislature, frankly, somebody who can come in from the outside who is not bought and not lost. I think we need some specific reform. I think we need to unshackle the Attorney General of New York, who currently needs permission from the governor or some outside referral to initiate a public corruption investigation. That's nuts. We already have the AGB have the same authority in Albany that he or she would have on Wall Street, the public corruption equivalent of the Martin Act. I think we need to have bipartisan redistricting so that we can have fair and more competitive elections. 98.5%, and you folks probably know this better than anyone, 98.5% of all incumbents who run for re-election win. They don't fear us enough, and we need to change that. I think we need to have public financing of the two offices, in my view, that ought to be the least political. The comptroller, who counts the money, and the Attorney General, who puts people in jail and cut the stock price of a company with a bad press release. And I think that we need to have an Attorney General who is focused like a laser on reform. I think we can get it. Why? Because you all are going to make sure that everyone running for office you hear talks about reform and makes a commitment. And I'm going to be talking about it a lot. And when we get there in January, it's going to be the best opportunity in a generation for real reform.
So, please.
There's been a conflation of two related but very different legal problems. There's a problem of corruption. There are people, some, not a lot, but too many, who have violated the laws. Tony Seminario, Joe Bruno, others. The fundamental prosecution of those folks is through a set of laws that are generally done by DAs and federal prosecutors. There needs to be some additional role for the Attorney General. I do support, which is why I disagree with Eric, extending direct jurisdiction to the Attorney General. I've said so for some time. There is then the much larger question of why the government does not seem to be producing a social product, a political product, a governmental product that is in the interest of the people of the state. Now that is a much more complicated question. Eric suggests there's a technical need for technical knowledge, and there is, and a need to be a tough guy, to stand up to that. That's true too. But in the end, what you're going to have to judge us on is what skills we bring, not merely to point out how bad things are, but what we've done, what our skills are to actually reform things. And to do that, if you think you can stand on a height and spit down on the people who are going to be making the decisions about these things, you're wrong. The most fundamental reform of Albany in decades was the reform I offered after 5 years of subpoenas and hearings and standing up to tough guys on authority reform. We took a system of Soviet-style bureaucracies, and we've now passed a law that's really making them function infinitely better than they ever did. If you want to talk about this office as the burliest prosecutor, the guy or the woman who can stand up and yell at the bad guys, all of us are going to do that. If you want to talk about what it takes really to make things different in the lives of New Yorkers, there is a real, measurable distinction between this end of the table and the rest of it. Thank you.